Colorado's top Senate Democrat on justice issues is indicted for a felony. The Democratic Party says it's just learning about what happened. An audio tape we obtained suggests otherwise. No recall for a controversial set of school board members. They'll stay in office for now. Colorado Republicans have their backs against the wall this election season, literally and figuratively. They made promises. Marshall asked them for a plan. The reason that Denver's water is tasting a little funny these days. And she is proud of her age and the wisdom it brings.
We don't say old. We say we are in the age of excellence.
She wants to represent Colorado on a national stage. We'll meet her next. The Democrat who leads Colorado's Senate Judiciary Committee has been indicted for a felony. Democratic Senator Pete Lee of Colorado Springs is accused of lying about where he lives for the purpose of voting. The Colorado Democratic Party would not talk to us about that today, saying they are just learning about the situation. But a tape obtained by 9 News suggests that's not true.
What I'm really trying to do is to wean Colorado from its incarceration addiction.
Democratic Senator Pete Lee has focused his legislative career on criminal justice. Now, Lee is the focus of the criminal justice system. A grand jury indicting him on a felony count of providing false information about where he lives in connection with voting. Basically, claiming he lived and should be able to vote at this small rental house inside his Senate district, and not at this much larger home outside his Senate district where his wife lives.
Plus, I've got this residency challenge thing that Zubek published. I'm really stressed out about that, to be honest with you.
That's Senator Lee on a recording from the state Senate in June of 2020. 9 News obtained a copy of the recording, which captures Lee talking to someone after the official Senate business had adjourned, but was still being broadcast online.
The real threat is it's a felony 5 to vote from a district that you don't live in. But the way they define that is like present intent to reside, or that's not exactly it, but, it's pretty close to that.
Today, Democratic Senate President Steve Fenberg said that Lee has been removed from his interim committee assignments at his own request. The Colorado Democratic Party declined comment, saying that the party just learned about the residency issue. On the 2020 tape, Senator Lee says Senator Fenberg was aware of the situation and referred him to the Colorado Democratic Party's official counsel, Martha Tierney.
Fenberg referred me to a Martha Tierney, who's the party lawyer. Well, she did me some original good research and then turned me on to a guy by the name of John Buckley, who she works with very closely, who is also a criminal defense attorney. He doesn't think there's really enough to nail me on that.
A grand jury disagreed, returning a felony indictment. Senator Lee has not responded to our request for comment. His term in the state Senate is coming to a close in the coming months. He was going to be up for re-election, but he was redistricted. At least the house that he claimed to live in was redistricted and moved into an area represented by a senator who is not up for re-election and will stay in the Senate. Colorado Republicans gathered their candidates today to outline their promises to voters. Promises are one thing, plans are another. The Republican candidate for governor, Heidi Ganahl, is promising to eliminate the state's income tax and reduce the gas tax. But Ganahl has not offered a plan explaining whether she would cut 2/3 of Colorado's general fund spending or raise taxes elsewhere. Ganahl has declined to answer in-depth questions here, so politics guy Marshall Zellinger caught up with her at a campaign event.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for being here at our Commitment to Colorado press conference.
Republican candidates and elected leaders are making a habit of meeting on August 9th.
If you're wondering why are we having this press conference at a gas station?
Last year, it was this gas station news conference.
My name's Joe O'Day.
Today, Mile High Station, owned by Republican U.S. Senate candidate Joe O'Day. We heard from gubernatorial candidate Heidi Ganahl and the broad strokes of how she wants to save Coloradans money.
By taking our great state to zero income tax and cutting the red tape to make housing affordable again, and cutting the gas tax in half and still fixing our roads.
Let's look at that first part, a zero income tax. Colorado's income tax rate is currently 4.55%. Actually, it's temporarily 4.5%. It was lowered to get us some of our Tabor refund returned through lower taxes. Ganahl wants this number to be zero. What's getting cut, or where's the money coming from?
So, Marshall, my intention is to put more money back into the pockets of the people of Colorado. One of the ways we can do that is take us to zero income tax. We can do it at about 1% a year over my first term, a little bit more than that if you average it out.
That's how Ganahl wants to do it, but she does not say what gets cut or where other money comes from. Here's why we're asking that. In 2020 and 21, income taxes brought in nearly $10 billion for the general fund. That's the pot of money state lawmakers get to divvy up. Income taxes made up 2/3 of that general fund pot. And that money gets spent on areas like K through 12, healthcare, human services, corrections, higher education, courts, and public safety. And another $875 million from income taxes got sent directly to K through 12.
The 5 top performing economies in states across the United States are zero income tax states. It is absolutely beneficial to the state of Colorado to do so.
The 5 states, I think, have higher property taxes and higher state sales tax. So would you be for that?
I have no intention of raising other taxes in order to accomplish this goal.
In short, subtract $10 billion without adding. We'll seek more specifics as we head to Election Day. Let's briefly talk about cutting the gas tax. Last year, half of the gas tax would be $300 million. That money goes to CDOT for highways, county roads, city streets, and Colorado State Patrol. And when I asked, how do you cut half and still fund all of that, she brought up the law that created that gas fee that will come into effect after the election and the fee for delivery and ride shares. And I asked if you're going to keep those delivery and ride share fees because she doesn't think people know where that money really goes. And we've reported here, it doesn't all go to roads.
Yeah.
I asked her, are you going to keep that money for roads? She said, we'll see as we move forward.
So I'm still trying to get my mind around the idea of getting rid of 2/3 of the general fund revenue to fund the state for like basic functions like schools and healthcare and things like that, but not raising any other revenue. So that's cuts to what we do, but she won't specify what they are.
She mentioned, which she has before, fraud and misuse from the current government.
Okay.
But without the specifics of what those are. I'd like to know those, because if there are billions of dollars like that being fraudulently used and misused, that could be the money, but we don't know what that is, if that exists.
All right. More questions to come, I suppose. Thank you, Marshall. The conservative school board majority in Douglas County is not going to face a recall in November. Organizers, their opponents, have decided that they're not even going to attempt to put it on the ballot. The group Doug Coast Future says the recall will be attempted in the future, but they say that they don't want to be perceived as putting district funding measures in danger this year, like having both things up at one time. Doug Coast Superintendent Erin Kane told Next recently that she wants the district to ask voters for more funding for better teacher pay, even though Doug Coast Schools' own internal polling showed that less than 40% of voters in that deeply divided district were supportive of spending more money on that. Something unusual happened today, also ballot related, because there was a measure that failed to get enough signatures to go before you in November, and then supporters released their polling suggesting it would have passed if voters were able to weigh in. This was a proposal to take tax refunds and spend them on education. Initiative 63 would have dedicated more than $980 million each year for public education. It would have devoted 0.33% of the state's income tax revenue to education. The money could have been used in part to recruit and retain teachers. Magellan Strategies, conservative polling outfit, paid to poll this issue and says that it had widespread support. 64% told Magellan they'd vote yes or would lean yes.
I think it's appropriately described as a tragedy because of all the difficulty of trying to find this amount of money to fund an extremely, if not vital part of our communities. This could have happened. This really could have happened, and unfortunately it did not.
The Colorado School Finance Project, the organizers say they came up short on signatures to get to the ballot. Another thing that you will not see on your November ballot is a second question on magic mushrooms. Secretary of State's office said that organizers behind Initiative 61 submitted 5,000 signatures. That's not close, guys. You needed 125,000. Supporters wanted to decriminalize growing and sharing psychedelics like psilocybin mushrooms. Voters will see another magic mushrooms initiative on your November ballot. It would not allow retail sales, but would create so-called healing centers where people could use mushrooms to help with PTSD or depression. So there's stuff that went on under the cover of sport that athletes are now no longer willing to be silent about. They're sharing stories of abuse and cover-ups. This week, USA Swimming, which is based in Colorado Springs, announced a new way for its athletes to report abuse. Here's Katie Eastman.
The need for reporting abuse is clear. More than 100 coaches have been banned from USA Swimming by the U.S. Center for Safe Sport. Many of the bans are because the coaches sexually abused minors. USA Swimming is currently being sued by former athletes who claim they weren't protected.
I think that there's just been a lot more light shed on the issues in the athlete experience.
Abby Howard, the senior director of legal and membership affairs with USA Swimming, won't comment on litigation. But she hopes their latest move will make their 350,000 athletes, from kids to Olympians, feel safer.
For us, it's important that everybody knows if they send information to USA Swimming that we will do what we are required to do with the information that's given.
USA Swimming is the latest entity to strike a deal with Real Response. Their previous technology allowed people to report abuse anonymously, but it didn't allow for anyone to ask questions back to the anonymous reporter. Real Response changes that.
This way we will be able to hopefully act more nimbly on reports that we get, whereas previously if we didn't have enough information, we might have to close a case or not be able to report it on further because we wouldn't have the information necessary to do so.
All members of USA Swimming will be able to use the new reporting tool on September 1st. For Next, I'm Katie Eastman.
USA Gymnastics and USA Track and Field have already started using Real Response, and the Denver Broncos have a contract with the company as well.
Denver's water may be tasting and smelling kind of funny lately. We get the science behind the issue.
You'd never want to think that the older generation is not important, because they are.
Just don't call her old. Next.
We're hearing from more Coloradans still having a hard time cashing their Tabor tax refunds. The Department of Revenue continues to tell us no widespread issues, just some isolated problems. Next, viewers are mostly reporting issues cashing those checks at Walmarts across the state. We just called up a couple today, and they insisted that they are cashing the refunds. They don't have some system-wide issue there. The state says its folks also confirmed that Walmart is cashing the checks. If you've had trouble getting your Tabor refund check cashed, we're happy to look into it. If you want to give us some specifics, just email next@9news.com.
Another hot day here in Denver. Take a look at the numbers. So far, we are in the running for the second warmest summer to date here in the Denver metro area. 74.8 degrees June, July, and August. We still have a couple more weeks to go, but it has been scorching hot. Today, of course, another 90-degree day, marking day 46. That is typically our average for the entire summer season. It's only August 9th. We still have plenty more summer heat to go. Officially 95 out at DIA, some mid-90s in northern Colorado too. 90 stretching across the northwestern side of the state, and 99 in Grand Junction today. Those thunderstorms have been few and far between around the San Juans, the San Luis Valley. Otherwise, it's been pretty quiet here in Denver. This ridge of high pressure just continues to strengthen, and that brings us the heat once again tomorrow and really throughout the rest of the work week. Back to the mid-90s we go here in town. 70s, 80s up into the mountains and foothills, close to 100 degrees on Friday. That would be a record. Right now I am tracking a bit more monsoon moisture and some cooler temperatures moving in early next week.
Danielle Grant, who we could see tonight. That was a pleasant change. Denver's water's it's a little off lately, and I guess heat is the problem. During the hot summer months, different types of algae can grow in water. Denver Water says it has the ability to remove the algae, but the process can affect the taste and smell of the water. Denver Water says that the differences are temporary and that the water is safe to drink. It typically only happens when they have to pull water from the lower elevation reservoirs like Marston Reservoir in southwest Denver.
Higher level reservoirs are deeper, but they're also cooler, and they don't get quite as much heating from the afternoon suns, as well as there's less nutrients that tend to travel into those reservoirs.
Denver Water says your tap water may taste kind of earthy, like grass or straw, or it might taste like it's coming out of a hose, kind of stale. They suggest flushing your home's water lines to try and remove the stagnant water there, and of course a filter on the tap could also help.
And it makes me feel proud to be a senior.
She can light up a room. Funny woman with a serious mission. Next.
Little tour around the state. Woman in Colorado loves her new title because she's earned it. Jean Knott is a comedian turned beauty pageant contestant. She likes to entertain, although she also hopes that her story can bring attention to the struggle that her brother faced.
I remember glancing down at the line and trying to decide who it was going to be. Did not think it was me by any measure. My name is Jean Knott. I am Miss Colorado Senior America 2022. In my spare time, I visit assisted living homes and senior centers and do comedy. Comedy just for seniors. Although we don't say old, we say we are in the age of excellence. Oh, this is Rollo, he's 14. This is Sophia, she's 4. Oh, and he's my husband, Paul Crumby.
I thought that she just put her best foot forward, and there was really no place for her to be than Miss Colorado Senior America.
This is the first runner-up from the Miss Colorado Senior America. In the pageant, you pick one organization or something you really truly believe in. And I chose MS because it was so close to home. My brother was a musician, a very popular musician back east. It was when he was in his 20s, it started developing. He had no idea what it was. They've got to find a cure, and I just want to help as much as I can.
Obviously, I couldn't be more proud of her.
I can't believe it took me 73 years to do something so amazing, but I'm so glad that I did, because I am ecstatic, and it makes me feel proud to be a senior. And I'm hoping that maybe if only it's 1 or 2 women can see how happy I am, and they'll say, you know, I could do that.
Jean told our photojournalist Foster Gaines she's really excited to represent Colorado in September in the national competition for Miss American Senior. After years of watching aggressive rocks target innocent drivers in Colorado's parking lots, a potential solution is found. That and your feedback next. You know what's going on if we're showing you this video. Next classic stuff, the war on cars via rocks in our parking lots. The original was at the Target at the Colorado Mills Mall. This was another one that followed right after it, an office center. And the rocks are getting bolder. Next viewer Erica Crosby found proof that they're even creeping into the Mercedes-Benz parking lot in Littleton off South Broadway. That's bold, right outside the dealership. All right, back into the shop. Time for humans to get smart. Not the drivers, they're hopeless, but other humans can help out the drivers, like whoever put a cone on this rock and marble. There wouldn't be a cone there if somebody hadn't high-centered. Karen Legel sent us this photo. We are into any and all attack rock content here at Next, so continue to send us both the rock attacks and helpful human exercises like the one that you see right there. Robin writes in tonight to ask a frequently asked question, which is whether we will have to pay taxes on the Tabor refund checks that you're getting in the mail right now. You will not have to pay taxes on it. It's not income. It's tax money you have already paid, and it's getting refunded to you. Doug writes in on Twitter, surprised that we covered the story about the arrest of Democratic Senator Pete Lee of Colorado Springs. Doug writes, surprised the media even covered the story, thought Democrats were immune from negative coverage. Doug, you should watch more Next. It hasn't been a great month for a number of Democrats here, right up to and including the governor. We'll see you next time.